Part 3. Price depreciation, green tea girlfriend begs for forgiveness. Author, Light and Agile. Chapter 21. How did you get Zinra to accept your pursuit? Facing the man in front of him, Zhang didn't want to talk to him about other boring topics, he just wanted to know how to get Su Zinran's heart, so he went directly to the topic he was interested in. Su Zinran, who was almost half angry with Zhang Yi's unsmart brain on the side, heard Zhang Yi's words again. Slowly turned his head to Zhang Yi, and his big watery eyes stared at Zhang Yi. If it weren't for Li Yi's presence now, she really wanted to go up directly to reward Zhang Yi with a big scud. The company is running very well, why is the brain not smart? Li Yong pursues himself? I'm afraid that the probability of winning the jackpot is 10 million times smaller than buying a lottery ticket, or that it is directly impossible. How dare Zhang Yi say it? She regretted it very much. Why did she bring Li Yan to this restaurant for dinner, and then meet this stupid comparison in front of her? Li Yi was also a little confused when he heard Zhang Yi's words. I'm afraid that I didn't misunderstand something. It's not. You seem to have misunderstood. Li Yan put down the chopsticks in his hand and was about to answer Zhang Yi's question, but was interrupted by Su Zinran. Are you trying to be angry with me? What kind of eyesight do you have? It's not Li Yan who is pursuing me, but I'm pursuing him. Su Zinran gasped for a long time, and her little face flushed slightly. She really wanted to pinch Zhang Yi to death, so that she could say something similar to Xiangzai's confession to Li Yi in this scene. I just wanted to find a crack in the ground and turn in. This was the first time she had said such a thing to a person of the opposite sex, and she was still in a restaurant in full view, and she was embarrassed to death. Zhang Yi couldn't believe his ears, turned his head to look at Li Yin, and then glanced at Su Zinran. This special horse doesn't look like a joke, and Su Zinran won't joke about this kind of thing. Oh my God, the goddess who has been held in the clouds by everyone is chasing a person of the opposite sex? And Tima is more handsome than me. Where did I lose? I am young, have a promising career, have a car and a house, and I can barely be regarded as a rich and handsome person. But apart from my looks, where can I lose? Zhang Yi, who has been thriving in his career, feels that his self-esteem has been seriously hit at this moment. I was so surprised that I kept my mouth open, and the corners of my mouth trembled slightly, and I couldn't believe that all this was true. Back then, he was a well-known rich second generation at school, and there were also girls who pursued him, but he was only interested in Su Zinran. But there are too many people pursuing Su Zinran, and he stands in the crowd and wants Su Zinran to see that he is impossible. But now that he is out of society, without the constraints of school, he is the person who is the most advanced from her among all Su Zinran's pursued objects. The so-called building near the water gets the moon first. He has worked hard for so long and the water has not even approached, and the moon has disappeared. Zhang Yi pursed his mouth, with a little tears in his eyes, and looked at Li Yi pitifully. I have to say that he is too envious, and he can't compare to him, a person who has only appeared in Su Zinran's world for a few days. In the end, Zhang Yi wanted Su Zinran to tell him where he lost, but he didn't say it. Because he was so aggrieved, if he said one more word, he would lose his manhood, and he just wanted to find a place where no one was there and cry secretly. Zhang Yi finally held back tears and left. Li Yan, who heard Su Zinran's words, was also embarrassed. He has always regarded Su Zinran as a very good friend, but how to face such news when he suddenly came, it was not directly embarrassing for both of them. Su Zinran was speeding up the operation of the cerebellum on the side, racking her brains to think about how to alleviate this embarrassing atmosphere. Her heart was beating wildly, and now she was glad that she was in the restaurant, and although they were sitting quietly, she could still hear the buzz next to her. Otherwise, if it is too quiet, the sound of the heartbeat will probably be heard by Li Yi. The two were in an awkward situation. After a while, Susan Ran thought of a clever trick. What are you doing? What I was joking about just now was to make that guy Zhang Yi die, keep pestering me, and annoy people to death. Susan Ran wiped the cold sweat on her forehead and said with an unnatural smile. Whew. Exhaling softly, this clever little brain melon finally came up with a clever way to alleviate this awkward atmosphere. Otherwise, if Li Yan avoided himself in the future because of this, then he really didn't want to forgive himself for the rest of his life. As for Zhang Yi's stupid comparison, she will have to tear his annoying mouth when she sees him again in the future. Day by day, he caused such a thing to come out of himself. If he wasn't smart and his head turned fast, he would have to run to find Zhang Yi and give him a mouthful. When Li Yan heard Susan Ran say this, his heart suddenly relaxed. But there seems to be a little bit of loss, but there is no special feeling. That. I'm hungry. Susan Ran pouted and said to Li Yi. The two continued to pick up the dishes and chopsticks, facing the delicacies on the table. As for the big king crab sent by Zhang Yi, Susan Ran had already dumped it into the trash. Dragon Boat Festival book discount, charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. To rush immediately, event period, June 22nd to June 24th. Price depreciation, green tea girlfriend begs for forgiveness. Author, Light and Agile. Chapter 22. After lunch, the two walked out of the Supreme Chinese restaurant. And Zhang Yishi didn't leave like this. He was unwilling to let Susan Ran, who he had been pursuing for so long, lose to a nobody who seemed to be inferior to him in every way, so he wanted to fight for his happiness. Seeing Li Yan and Susan Ran coming out, Zhang Yi stepped forward and startled the two. His eyes were slightly red, and he looked like he had been crying sadly for a long time, and there were tears in the corners of his eyes that had not been wiped clean. Xin Ran, are you really not thinking about it anymore? He said after wiping the excess tears from the corners of his eyes. Susan Ran, who had just recovered, saw Zhang Yi fall into a speechlessness again. How dare he come back? Do you have to eat two of his own big mouths to be happy? Please, please let this unsightly guy disappear quickly. He's sad enough, he's cried enough, and it's my turn to cry again. Susan Ran felt a little broken, but she didn't want to deal with Zhang Yi at all. Seeing that Susan Ran didn't reply, Zhang Yi continued. Actually, I'm here this time because there's a big thing that I'm going to accomplish. At first, Susan Ran felt a little strange when she first met Zhang Yi. His company was a long way away from this restaurant, and he had to travel so far to have a meal. Besides, this restaurant is not so famous, and I thought Zhang Yi was following him. Because this has happened before, Zhang Yi quietly followed him in order to know where his family lived, just to be able to send her a bouquet of flowers on Valentine's Day. Anyway, as long as Zhang Yi is there, Susan Ran will inevitably be speechless, surprised and inexplicably angry. This is for who is not popular, let's say affectionate, it's not counted, it's good to live a few years less than kill on the spot. Let's say it's not affectionate, he tried his best to just smile for the person he liked. Susan Ran sighed and rolled her eyes, it was really the first time she felt so tired talking to others. Is also 100 times more bored with Zhang Yi. Big brother, is there a mistake? What do you have to do with me? I'm not interested in knowing, get out, I still want to live longer, do you have to me off to death? And no matter how college is now, I can be regarded as a person who has known each other for a few years, and I can be regarded as half a friend, I am really a pig teammate. I received news that there is a mysterious low-key tycoon living here, so I plan to come and pay a visit. If he can take a stake in our company, my career will go to the next level, and it is possible that even several floors will be possible. And now the people of the major banks in Huaxia are scrambling to grab people, and I heard that the presidents of the banks who received the news early this morning have gone to the Shehi community to visit the Shenhao but not a single figure had been seen, and before they could go, the god had already left, and had missed it in vain. Zhang Yi seemed to have forgotten his previous sadness, and excitedly explained this matter to Su Xinran. Hearing Zhang Yi's words, Su Xinran's head was running rapidly. Low-key tyrants? Shahi community? Isn't that what Li Yi is talking about? Su Xinran couldn't help laughing in her heart. Zhang Yi, a fool, was afraid that he didn't know that the god in his mouth was far away in the sky, close to his eyes. Laugh to death. How long is that head? Smart and confused for a while. If you find out later, will you want to slap yourself twice? I didn't grasp this opportunity today. If so, I can slap 2 more times, and by the way, I will add the few I want to slap. So, Xinran, think about me again. As long as I attract the Shenhao to join the shares, then I will also be a generation of Shenhao in the future. The money will be spent on you, and you can buy whatever you want. After listening to Zhang Yi's words, Su Xinran now not only wanted to slap Zhang Yi, but Tima directly wanted to slap herself twice. What kind of luck in this life, I actually met Zhang Yi. If God gives her a chance to reincarnate, she would rather not have the identity of this rich daughter, and just ask God not to let her know Zhang Yi. Until now, I don't know that the Shenhao I want to win is right in front of me, and there is still a generation of Shenhao. I'm afraid that Shenhao's ass can't be touched. I'm not interested in a generation of gods. I'm sorry, for your dream of gods. Grow your brains, come on. Su Xinran smiled at Zhang Yi, and this smile was just to make fun of his pig brain. Li Yan on the side also showed a satisfied smile. The two got into a Ferrari luxury car and left, leaving Zhang Yi alone to stay at the door of the restaurant. Looking at the Ferrari sports car that was speeding away, Zhang Yi's heart was like a knife, but he could only stare blankly at the Ferrari sports car that had long disappeared and burst into tears. And in the sports car, after Zhang Yi's words just now, Li Yan also realized that that place had been targeted by too many people. From this point of view, it was necessary to change places, and the desire to buy a villa became stronger and stronger. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Price depreciation, Green Tea Girlfriend begs for forgiveness. Author, Light and Agile. Chapter 23. Your family is in real estate, right? Any good recommendations? Li Yan thought about it and remembered that Su Xinran mentioned that her family was engaged in real estate, and she was quite famous in Huaxia. Seeing that she understood the villa in the restaurant, she asked her to go to see a villa with her. In the past, the economy was not well off, and if you buy a suite, you must have to spend a few years of hard work to be able to mortgage only one house, let alone a villa. And now the soft sister coin in my hand is estimated to be spent in the next life, so I don't enjoy it now, keep it and wait for death. And the place where Li Yan lives has now been targeted by many people. He doesn't want to go out every day like a star, covering himself in various ways to prevent being caught by the paparazzi. Talking about horror is like a rat that can't see the light. Of course, it wasn't so scary, he just wanted to be quiet. Think about it, I felt a little bored when I heard from Zhang Yi this morning that all the presidents of the major banks were blocked downstairs in his community. Well, then I think you can go to the East Ring high-end villa area. The villas there are quite good, and the environmental security is very good in all aspects. The main thing is that it is very quiet. Su Xinran thought about it carefully and replied. Then the two went to the East Ring villa area. I have to say that it is very convenient to have a car, and having Su Xinran by Li Yan's side these days has helped him reduce a lot of unnecessary trouble. The Ferrari drove along the Shangzhong restaurant and soon arrived at the East Ring villa area. After getting off the bus, a gate of gold coin splendor came into view. It is worthy of a high-end villa area, and even the gate is so atmospheric. Walk through the door and come to the lobby of the villa purchase and sales department. At this time, a sales lady stepped forward. "Hello and welcome, to inside, please." The young and beautiful sales lady stepped forward to lead the way and came to the reference area for the details of the real estate. In addition to Li Yin and the two in the hall, there is also a couple looking at the villa. "Don't you know how to pour a glass of water for these two distinguished guests? Look at his godly outfit, such a poor ghost, can he afford our villa here? I'm afraid he can't afford a toilet. You're afraid that one day you're going crazy about performance, and by the way, everyone wants to hug your thighs." It was another sales lady in the hall who spoke. It looks much more sophisticated than the shy salesman who led the way. She is a senior salesperson in the sales department, and the villas sold out every year are the most among all employees, and the year-end bonus is soft. She was yelling at the new sales lady just now. And by the honored guests she is referring to a young couple she is serving. At a glance, the couple looked like rich people. The woman was wearing a mink coat, holding a mobile phone and taking selfies everywhere to post on Moments. The man was wearing a dress marked with the obvious Helan House brand logo. Obviously, apart from the couple, only Li Yan and Susan Ran were left in the hall. And the poor ghost in the mouth of the senior salesman is Li Yi. Since Li Yi was the first to enter the hall, when she saw someone coming in and was about to come forward to welcome her, after weighing Li Yin's clothes up and down, she turned her head back and continued to greet the couple. So much so that when she saw Susan Ran coming in and walking up to Li Yin, she felt that Li Yin was wearing such shabby, and the two were together, so Susan Ran might not have found the counterfeit clothes from somewhere. So she didn't pay attention to Li Yan and Susan Ran, and even the novice salesman came forward to welcome them. She felt that she was just wasting time. However, the shy newbie salesman didn't pay attention to her, saying she was used to it. But there is no way, others take the first place in performance every year, and if you want to do it, you can only swallow your anger. And everyone who came was a guest. She didn't listen this time, and continued to greet Li Yan and Susan Ran. Let the senior salesman speak coldly. "Yes, you can't afford it. How much money can you have in this villa?" Susan Ran walked forward with light steps, touched the villa model in the sand table, and said in a soft tone, "Ha ha ha, I've seen a lot of people like you who wear fake name tags everywhere for a day. Look twice, come in and take 2 photos, and pretend that you can't afford to buy flashes, and then show off in a mess in the circle of friends. How much is it back? Looking at the two of you like this, it is estimated that you will not be able to afford a toilet in our villa for the rest of your life. Ha 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 ha. Our villa will cost at least $5, and if you have $1 on your 2 bodies, I will roll up the cover and leave, laughing to death." The senior salesman hovered his hands over his chest and said with a proud mockery. At this time, the couple standing on the side looked at each other when they heard the salesperson talk about fake brand name clothes and the price of villas that cost at least 5 yuan. Coughing lightly twice, their legs kept trembling, trying their best to hide the weakness and uneasiness in their hearts. Price depreciation, Green Tea Girlfriend begs for forgiveness. Author, Light and Agile. Chapter 24. No matter how much they hide it, they can't escape Susan Ran's eyes. In fact, as early as when she entered the hall door, Susan Ran noticed the two of them. Also mink coats? The pattern of natural mink is very natural, irregular, and the hair is not light. The pattern of the fake mink coat feels stiff. Although I didn't touch the mink coat that the girl was wearing, I could see that it was not smooth at all. And judging from the girl's actions, it was very uncomfortable to wear that mink coat, like wearing a stiff vest. The boys' clothes from Helan House are even more fake. The collar of the genuine Helan House has a bumpy feeling, and the one on his body is obviously ordinary and flat. In addition, the clothes of Helan House have a fresh and elegant atmosphere. However, Susan Ran smelled a very pungent smell from a long distance, and almost choked her to death. In a Susan Ran, who changes different brands at will every day, she can tell the truth at a glance. Sample, pretending in front of the real eldest sister, you are still a little tender. Susan Rand couldn't help but sigh. But she didn't debunk the couple, and she had to wait to see the senior salesman's show. The customer who has been doing his best and respecting and greeting in every way turned out to be a fake local tyrant. Ha ha ha, I feel ridiculous when I think about it. We have a villa for $5 here, and just the cheapest can scare you to death. The most expensive set is astronomical for you two poor people who can't even make up a penny. It costs more than 20 yuan, a natural sea view villa. I guess you have never heard of it, so let alone seen it. Look at us, our two distinguished guests, and see what other people are wearing, and a single piece of clothing will buy you for a lifetime. The sea view house is a real easy taker for them, and if you are willing to kneel down and beg them, you may be lucky enough to see what the sea view villa looks like in this life. The senior salesman mocked Li Yin and Susan Ran, and at the same time did not forget to pat the couple's ass. Looked at Li Yan and Susan Ran with disgust, and continued to speak coldly. Let the fake local tyrant couple who stayed next to her eager to find a crack in the ground to get into. For $1, you'll roll up and leave, right? I don't need the two of us, I'll just have one. Susan Rand took off the Gucci designer bag that was slung crossbody over her shoulder, unzipped it, and prepared to take the only dollar of cash from the bag. She couldn't stand the smugness of the salesman. I just want to hit her hard on the spot, so that she can open her eyes and see what bullshit she is talking about. Unzipping the Gucci designer bag, Susan Rand took out her wallet and was about to take out the money. Li Yan stepped forward and grabbed her little hand that was about to be put into her purse and whispered in her ear. Don't move, let me come. This made Susan Rand's ears and delicate little face instantly red. At this time, the salesman saw it and immediately began to laugh. Ouch, I'm laughing to death, you two little turtles, I thought I could really come up with $1 to get me out. After looking at Susan Ran, he continued. Look at it, this one, the face is as red as a monkey's buttocks, you must have opened the bag and saw nothing, and you are embarrassed. Ha 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 ha. The salesman squatted on the ground directly with her stomach in her hands, laughing so much that she couldn't stand up for a while. Made the fake local tyrant couple on the side can't help but cover their mouths with their hands and laugh. Felt that Li Yan and Susan Ran were simply embarrassed by the coercion they pretended. Although they are fake, they are all the same pretend, and they have never been so ashamed. I want all the villas here, and besides, it's in her order. Li Yan raised his eyebrows, then pointed his finger at the novice salesman who showed him and Susan Ran the way just now, and then said. There was a sudden silence in the hall. The fake local tyrant couple, the senior salesman, and the novice salesman pointed to by Li Yan all stared at Li Yan with dead eyes. Including Susan Ran, they were all frightened by Li Yan's words. After the air was still for a few seconds, the senior salesman and the fake local tyrant couple laughed and rolled on the ground. They all think that Li Yan is better at pretending than Susan Ran, and Susan Ran just said that he would take $1. And Li Yan directly asked for all the villas here. Here no, it's all on your head, you're going to take a big order, you're going to get rich, ha 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 ha. Then the senior salesman gasped, but still couldn't help her cheeks that wanted to laugh maniacally. Then he laughed and said mockingly to another salesman. The novice salesman didn't hear the taunts from her superiors at this time, she just looked at Li Yan with blank eyes. Whether it's fake or real, it's the first time since she started selling that she has heard a customer who comes in to buy a house specify herself. Usually it is his superior, that is, the senior salesman who is bullying to take these orders. She has just graduated from college and has just entered the society, and she is still relatively shy, and she does not have the eloquent mouth of her superiors. And usually, even if there are customers, the superiors will not let themselves have the opportunity to insert at all. Therefore, as a result, I worked for more than half a year and had no performance. Dragon Boat Festival book discount, charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. To rush immediately, event period, June 22nd to June 24th. Price depreciation, green tea girlfriend begs for forgiveness. Author, Light and Agile. Chapter 25. Li Yan's words are not just an inconspicuous word for her. It is a great encouragement for her in her working life. So when Li Yan said this, her tears of excitement almost fell. Su Xinran swallowed a mouthful of water, put the wallet in the Gucci designer bag, and continued to carry the bag crossbody over her shoulder. Grip the chain of the bag tightly with both hands. Xiao Xiaobu slowly approached Li Yan, making the two people who were already closer to each other. Su Xinran gently moved her elbow and put her hands in her trouser pockets. Why are you buying so much? She felt that it was almost difficult to breathe. Li Yan had saved so much money into the bank, how could she have so much money to buy all the villas here? The cheapest set of $5 bills is good to say, and you can easily get it. But just now I heard the salesman say that the most expensive is the Sea View Villa, but it costs more than 20 yuan. If she relied on her own home, she could have bought the Sea View Villa, but it was impossible for her to do it alone. And Li Yong still wants all the villas here have not been sold, and there are almost a dozen sets of them all. Without $100 or $200, you can't take all the villas at all. Su Xinran hurriedly signaled to Li Yin, his money was all deposited in the bank, and now he couldn't take out such a large astronomical sum. Li Yan just said indifferently, "It's okay, it's within my budget." When Su Xinran heard this, she was almost worried to death. This is a huge amount of money of more than 100 days, Li Yan doesn't know what he is talking about. Then Su Xinran just shook her head and walked outside the hall. "Take out your latest iPhone." I dialed my dad's phone. "Hey Dad. What's the matter, my eldest daughter, is she short of money again?" "It's probably a bit too much this time, eh? 100 or 200. So much. What are you doing here? I can only give you a maximum of 100 with the liquidity I have." "Don't worry, Dad. I'll take it." "Okay, I'm a little busy right now, hang up first." Before Su Xinran finished speaking, Su Dong hung up the phone. Su Xinran rarely asks her family for money, and she is also preparing to start her own business. Unless it's a pinch. This was the first time she had asked for so much money from her family, but she also swore secretly in her heart that it would be the last time. You have to rely on your own hands to fight for everything you want. After the call, Su Xinran received the arrival message from the bank card and let out a long sigh. She thought that Li Yan's money had been deposited in the bank, and she was worried that he would not be able to step down for a while, so she wanted to mention holding up an umbrella for him. Then he entered the hall and walked to Li Yan's side. After the senior salesman laughed wildly, he took a deep breath, and then slowly picked up the POS machine and walked to Li Yin. Leaning on the model sand table with his right hand, he held the POS machine in his left hand high in front of Li Yi's eyes. "Come, Rich, a total of 178 soft girl coins, do you swipe your card or cash?" The corners of his mouth that were about to be tense seemed to be ready to laugh at Li Yan for a while. She has worked in the sales industry for more than 10 years, and has only received the only time a customer has purchased 2 villas at one time. And it's just a small villa. The person in front of him, who didn't know the height of the sky, actually pretended to say that he wanted all the villas in this area. She has seen pretending to be compared, but she has never seen someone pretending to be like Li Yi. In the future, I will definitely see someone who will talk about this great god of the pretending world I met today. Thinking of this, the corners of her mouth had already begun to rise. Li Yan saw the salesman's ugly face, but the corners of his mouth were tilted upward, and he snorted coldly. I pulled a bank card out of my fart bag. Insert the bank card into the card slot of the POS machine carelessly. At this time, Susan Ran took out her bank card from the card bag and was about to step forward to relieve Li Yin. But it was too late. I saw the bank card in Li Yi's hand slowly swipe through the card slot of the POS machine. At this point, the air seemed to be still. And the salesman couldn't help but squint his eyes and laugh wildly at this time. Whew! Li Yan's bank card was swiped over the POS machine. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds passed, and the cashier did not hear any information about the arrival of the payment. At this time, the salesman and the fake tyrant couple laughed wildly together, and the whole hall was filled with their laughter. Susan Ran covered her hands in front of her eyes. If she had taken the card earlier, the scene would not have been so embarrassing, but Li Yan's hand speed was too fast, so she hadn't reacted at all. That's where these awkward scenes happen. This is really a large-scale social death scene. Although there are only 100 soft sister coins in his card, it is not enough to pay for the purchase of all the villas that Li Yang wants. But it's much better than the embarrassing scene now. At this moment, a mechanical voice sounded in front of the cash register behind the salesman. Ding! Qianlong Bank has received 178 yuan. Dragon Boat Festival book discount, charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. To rush immediately, event period, June 22nd to June 24th. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Price depreciation, Green Tea Girlfriend begs for forgiveness. Author, Light and Agile. Chapter 26. Susan Ran slowly put down the hand covering her eyes. Staring at the arrival reminder machine on the cash register, a large line of words surrounds the top of your head. What? You have the ability to ring again? She hurriedly swallowed several mouthfuls of air, only to feel the silence of the audience. I only felt my pounding heart and the crisp and piercing collection of 178 yuan. At this time, her mind was blank, and only the astronomical figure of 178 yuan came to mind. I still wanted to hold up an umbrella for Li Yi, but I didn't expect to be a clown. Now I'm glad I didn't take out my bank card with only 100 bills, otherwise I would have to congratulate myself on mentioning a private social death scene exclusive to me. But she felt a little strange that Li Yan had deposited more than 600 huge sums of money into the bank. Why is there still money? What level of god-heroic monster is this? Looking back, when we first met, I didn't deposit the 300 huge sum of money taken out by Li Yan in the Phil restaurant, but he didn't deposit it in the bank. It's been kept at home, so it stands to reason that there isn't so much money on me at all. Besides, the bank card that Li Yan took out just now was not the kind of bank card he made when he deposited money with his best friend Su Ling. It's too much to hide. The one who returned the horse was found out of the fart bag, not to mention how much money was in the card for the time being. But taking the 178 that was paid out, it's already an astronomical amount, okay. Just casually fart in the bag. If it falls off and disappears, will he just be like the hundreds who didn't see him at home before, and pass with a light sentence? The more Susan Ran thought about it, the more she felt panicked in her chest, and she wanted to take a deep breath to relieve it, but now it seems that her breathing has become a little unsmooth. The salesman was still laughing wildly and heard the sound of the payment being received. The head slowly turned to the cash register behind him. The smile on his face began to stiffen. The right hand that was propped up on the sand table of the model suddenly did not hold it steady, and slipped off the sand table. With a bang, he fell to the ground, and the expensive POS machine on his left side also fell to the ground, and he fell to pieces. At this time, she no longer cares about spending nearly 2 months of her salary to compensate for this sparse POS machine. I quickly got up from the ground, ran to the cash register, picked up the machine that reminded me of the arrival, and patted it vigorously. She couldn't believe the sound she had just heard. Firmly believing that the machinery must have broken down, he hurriedly picked up his mobile phone and hurriedly called people to repair it. But she knew very well in her heart that this machine had not broken down at all, and the huge sum of 178 paid by Li Yan was also a fact. She suddenly didn't know what to do. Holding the mechanical machine that received the payment, he knelt on the ground and cried. On the other side, when he heard that the newcomer had received 178 yuan, he turned his little finger in his ear. After making sure that he had heard correctly, he recalled that Li Yan said that all the orders were attributed to his head. If you calculate it in this way, wouldn't the performance and share be an astronomical figure? Oh my God, what kind of virtue can I be, since God let myself meet such a noble person? Then the beautiful newcomer salesman stepped forward and said tremblingly, Please. You. Guide them to the adjacent lounge and take their seats, ready to sign the purchase contract. At this time, the senior salesman, who was kneeling on the ground and still crying, pulled out his sleeve and quickly wiped the tears off his face. Then he got up and straightened his messy clothes, adjusted his state, forced his stiff cheeks and smiled, and then quickly ran in front of Li Yan and Su Xinran. So much so that the rookie salesman who led the way for the two of them in front knocked him aside. She also did it on purpose, and the best performance was obviously obtained by stealing life in the hands of others. Sir, madam, I'm sorry for what I just did, she's new here and doesn't understand a lot of things. In order to bring you a better buying experience, let me serve you. The senior salesman glanced at the rookie salesman who was lying on the ground. Then he cheekily said to Li Yi, It's as if what just happened simply doesn't exist at all. Keep working as usual. Selective amnesia, right? Li Yan hates this kind of person the most in his life, how can he let her go? Are you all right? Su Xinran stepped forward to help the newcomer salesman who fell to the ground up, and asked in a soft tone. The rookie salesman also shook his head and said that it was not a big deal. Who just said that if you take out $1, you will flash people? I will take out more than 100 times more than the dollar you mentioned, why don't you flash people? Give you 2 seconds, get out of here. Li Yi raised his eyebrows, first asked the salesman in a weird manner, and then immediately changed his attitude. He scolded loudly. Then the senior salesman rolled out of the hall in fright, and automatically handed in his resignation. Because she knows that even if she doesn't hand in her resignation report, because of Li Yan's words, she won't leave herself for the sake of working hard for the company for so many years. It's better to be self-conscious. And the couple who pretended to be in the hall at the beginning, after hearing that Li Yan had paid a huge amount of money, they were scared and ran away. Thank you, life-saving benefactor. My name is Don Jr., you can call me Sugar Candy. The rookie salesman slowly released the arm that Su Xinran was holding and began to introduce himself to Li Yin. Su Xinran stared at Xiao Tang with a confused expression. Poof, my savior? Who lifted her? Also sugar? Dragon Boat Festival book discount, charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. To rush immediately, event period, June 22nd to June 24th. Price depreciation, green tea girlfriend begs for forgiveness. Author, Light and Agile. Chapter 27. Su Xinran had a bad premonition in addition to being a little inexplicable. This little Tang won't like Li Yan. Think about it, who is not moved by such a handsome guy? And he is so arrogant. I didn't dare to let Li Yan call himself so intimately, this Xiao Tang was inevitably a little popular. At the beginning, Su Xinran had a good impression of Xiao Tang's salesman, but now it seems that this is not a naked white lotus. If I knew that I wouldn't help her, I should have let her get up from the ground by herself. A thank you didn't forget it, but now there is another rival. Although Xiao Tang is not as good as himself, how can such a low-key person as Li Yan value these vulgar faces, figures, including family backgrounds? So for Su Ran, she felt a sense of crisis. And I don't know what style Li Yi likes. Forget it, it's useless to think so much, just wait and see. Mr. Li, then I'll take you to see the villa first. By the way, this young lady is your girlfriend. The salesman Xiao Tang looked at Li Yan with an infatuated expression, and then glanced at Su Ran beside him and continued. Sure enough, just as Su Ran thought, she had other ideas about the handsome guy Li Yan in front of her. Li Yan bought so many villas at once, and they were all recorded on her head, and the performance share was enough for her to make a lot of money. When she saw such a bold Li Yan, she was not bad, although she couldn't compare with Su Ran. But if he can turn an ugly duckling into a white swan and strive to become Li Yan's girlfriend, then what is this performance commission? Wouldn't it be a phoenix to fly on the branches? So I want to work hard for myself once. If it doesn't work, then the performance commission will still be in hand, and I won't end up empty-handed. The salesman had a wishful thinking in his heart. That's why I cautiously asked about the relationship between Li Yan and Su Ran. Because she knows that if it weren't for a couple, then she might have a little chance. If it's a couple, then it's just dispelling this idea. After all, he can't compare to Su Ran at all, one is in the sky and the other is underground. When Li Yan heard the salesman Xiao Tang's words, he looked confused and immediately explained, "Ah, no, no, she is my friend." Hearing Li Yi's answer, Su Ran couldn't help but feel a little cold in her heart. Did you just say it without hesitation? Doesn't Li Yan have even the slightest affection for himself except for his friends? Usually, if others can't resist their beauty and excellence, they will like themselves. Even if you hesitate for a while, it's good in your heart. On the other side, the salesman Xiao Tang was particularly excited. It turns out that Su Ran and Li Yan are not a couple, which means that they can have the opportunity to pursue Li Yan with confidence. The two followed the salesman Xiao Tang and began to visit the villa area. Li Yang's most curious thing is, of course, the sky-high price of the Sea View Villa for others. Let the salesman Xiao Tang lead the way to see the Sea View Villa first. After a few minutes of travel, the Ferrari luxury car finally arrived at the location of the Sea View Villa. The salesman Xiao Tang walked beside Li Yan and began to introduce the Sea View Villa. Mr. Li, you see, this is a relatively private villa with a sea view, which is located on the beautiful CTE coast. Amazing view of the infinite sea. Come, please move over here. It consists of a courtyard, an indoor and outdoor shared pool, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and an open kitchen. Elegantly decorated, full of elegant and luxurious decorative objects. The interior of the villa is exceptionally comfortable. It will make you feel like you are in paradise. In addition, there is a large terrace where you can enjoy the cool sea breeze while standing on the terrace in the summer. If you bring your partner in the future, you can see countless stars shining in the sky and the endless expanse of the sea to accompany you. Isn't it romantic to think about it? The salesman Xiao Tang got closer and closer to Li Yi while introducing, and he almost didn't rub into his arms. The romantic scene of the two people in his mouth is actually integrating himself into it. Seeing this, Su Ran immediately stepped forward and crossed between Li Yi and the sales Xiao Tang, pushing the sales Xiao Tang far away. Xiao Tang, are you going to sell a house or a person? Su Ran said in a weird manner. It's really excessive, it's not enough to make a high profit, and I want to take advantage of Li Yi, he will be my person in the future. The toad still wants to eat swan meat? As long as I am here, I think of beauty. Li Yan too, why don't you wear a little defense, don't you know that you are very handsome? Su Ran pursed her lips and muttered silently on the side. However, Li Yan didn't notice this, just quietly listened to the introduction of sales Xiao Tang, and then enjoyed the unique scenery inside and outside the villa. And there are so many girls who pursue him, and he can't raise any interest in the sales Xiaotang in front of him. Looking at the villa in front of him, Li Yan showed a satisfied smile. Dragon Boat Festival book discount, charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. To rush immediately, event period, June 22nd to June 24th. Price depreciation, green tea girlfriend begs for forgiveness. Author, Light and Agile. Chapter 28. Li Yan had thought before that when he had money in the future, he would definitely buy a villa of this style. Then I lived in it every day and felt this happy life leisurely. It would be nice to think about it before, because before the price of goods depreciated, if he wanted to buy such a sea view villa with his little salary. With him now in his 20s, he has to struggle until he is 50 or 60 years old to be able to buy such a sea view villa. So now the sea view villa in front of him can be said to be not much different from what he once fantasized, so he is very satisfied. Subsequently, the salesman Xiaotang was very dissatisfied with Su Xinran pushing her and Li Yan away. So she is ready to start attacking Li Yi directly and straight to the point. Mr. Li, I know that today is the first time we have met, and it may be a bit abrupt to say this now. But I really like you, can you give me a chance to pursue you? Sales Xiaotang mustered up the courage of his life, took a deep breath, and quickly said the sentence to Li Yi. Although she knows that she is so ordinary that she can't be more ordinary, and in the face of a handsome and tyrant like Li Yi, her chance of success may be 1 in 10,000. Or maybe you don't have that opportunity. But so what? Sometimes if you want to do something, if you just want to do it, there is a 1 in 10,000 chance that you don't have it. It's better to fight directly, Bo Yubo. What if the 1 in 10,000 chance happens to you? Isn't it a bicycle becoming a motorcycle? The sudden attack of Sales Xiaotang's sentence directly made Su Xinran confused. Ha! This Sales Xiaotang really dares to say. I have always liked Li Yi silently, and even the words that were accidentally said by Zhang Yuqi in the Supreme Restaurant last time racked my brains to think about how to get back. I'm afraid that because of this, Li Yan will avoid him. This is the first time she has met, so bold. But it's normal to think about it. At first glance, Xiaotang didn't really like Li Yi, he just took a fancy to Li Yi's money. It doesn't matter what kind of face or other inner excellence at all. If you change to a person who is not good looking, her character is not good in these things, but she is a person who has brushed so many achievements with her like Li Yin, and is such a tyrant. Then she must be the same as she is today. This kind of money worshipper, Su Xinran clearly remembers that Li Yin talked to herself about the story of him and his ex-girlfriend Zhao Siya. At the beginning, Zhao Siya betrayed Li Yan because of her special money worship. If that's the case, the salesman Xiaotang will be out of play. But if Li Yi is disgusted, then she doesn't want this big performance commission. And Li Yan counted these as her performance commissions, which was entirely because it was not easy to see her, and because of the senior salesman. Shouldn't she think that Li Yi has a little bit of interest in her because of these? And then he had the audacity to say such a thing? Su Xinran thought silently in her heart, and then couldn't help but laugh. But she is also very worried at the moment, and can't wait to know how Li Yan will answer the Sales Xiaotang's confession. After all, Li Yan is not as able to read a complex animal as a woman like himself. I don't know that this seemingly shy salesman Xiaotang is actually a white lotus who worships gold. The truth that women understand women better is not just talking. Okay, you don't need to look at the other villas, you go and get the contract, and you can leave after I sign it. When Li Yan faced the salesman Xiaotang's sudden confession, his face was flat and not a little surprised. In the face of this confession of something similar, he said that he was numb. In the past, when I was studying or going to work, I would receive 1 or 2 different confession letters a day. So for someone to like themselves, It's like a normal routine. When the salesman Xiao Tang heard Li Yi answer like this, no matter how smart he was, he knew what it meant. Without too many words, he quickly ran to get the purchase contract. At this time, Li Yan obviously rejected himself. If he continued to talk shamelessly, it would be bad to make Li Yang unhappy. At that time, not only will he not pursue Li Yan's opportunity, but he will also be far away from his sales performance if he can't do it. That's the real emptiness of people and money. It's not cost-effective to be straightforward and proper. It's better to take it when you see it. After the salesman Xiao Tang brought the purchase contract, Li Yi carefully read the contents of the contract, and then signed his name on it. Seeing the name signed by Li Yan on the contract, the salesman Xiao Tang picked up the contract and left quickly. At this time, Su Xinran looked at Li Yan stupidly on the side. The ups and downs of the mood suddenly relaxed. Although she had a 99% probability in her heart at the beginning, she told herself that Li Yan would definitely not agree. But there is still that 1% of concerns. Now the heavy stone of worry in my heart has finally fallen. He smiled for the first time in a long time. Now that the new residence has been completed, Li Yan thinks that he has to go to the supermarket to buy some furniture for the villa in the future. In the past, there was no opportunity to cook at home, so there was not much furniture in the former residence. Su Xinran also happened to say to Li Yan at this time, "The last time I went to your house, I didn't see much furniture in your kitchen. Why don't I accompany you to the supermarket to buy some?" It's fake that I want to buy something, but it's true that I want to accompany Li Yi. The corners of Li Yan's mouth rose when he heard this, smiled and said yes. Looking at Su Xinran in front of him, Li Yan felt quite interesting. He actually knew what he was thinking. This is the legendary Heart of the Rhino. Dragon Boat Festival book discount, charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. To rush immediately, event period, June 22nd to June 24th. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Price depreciation, Green Tea Girlfriend begs for forgiveness. Author, Light and Agile. Chapter 29. Come to the door of the supermarket. Su Xinran stepped forward first and pushed the trolley. Entering the supermarket, Li Yi began to choose a variety of furniture and daily necessities. Su Xinran carefully put Li Ying's fancy in the shopping cart on the side. He also analyzed the pros and cons of the purchased goods with Li Yi. Soon the two of them bought everything they needed. Hop into a Ferrari supercar and take all your purchases back to your Ocean View villa. After some tossing. It's past 7 o'clock in the evening. Li Yan felt a little tired after a day of running, and Su Xinran was no exception. However, due to the fact that many things in the villa have not been cleaned, and the bedding has not been laid, there is no way to rest at all. Now the exhausted two don't have the heart to clean up. Or, if you don't suggest it, go to my house and rest for the night. And then I'll clean up with you tomorrow. Su Xinran said ecstatically. After all, there is no other ready-made and better way than to go to her house to rest now. Could it be that Chengdu is like this, and Li Yi will refuse? It's a pity that things didn't go the way Su Xinran thought. Li Yan refused. For him, he used to rent a house because he didn't have any money, but now he has bought his own residence, and he doesn't want to go to the fence anymore. Even if it's for one night. Besides, there is no special relationship with Su Xinran, and they are alone and widowed in the same room. This is also a bad influence on Su Xinran, a girl. Now if I go back to my old residence, I am worried that there will be a large group of people downstairs in the community who are ready to make sycophants. He didn't have time to pay attention to those people. I just want to get a good night's sleep. So I decided to put the sofa out for the first night, and then lay down on the sofa for the rest of the night. Susan Ran saw that Li Yan decisively refused, and did not continue to say too much, but just reminded Li Yan to cover the quilt at night to avoid catching a cold. Then come over early tomorrow morning and clean up with him. After Susan Ran finished speaking, she regretfully left the Seaview Villa. For her, she lost a chance to live with Li Yan. Li Yan casually tidied up the things on the sofa and took out a blanket that was not thin or thick. Then put the pillow behind his head, put the blanket over his body and fell into a sweet sleep. Early the next morning, the sea breeze blowing outside the floor-to-ceiling window woke Li Yan up at once. He got up and went to the terrace. Take a deep breath of fresh air blowing from the seaside. It's really heartwarming. Li Yan stood on the terrace and blew the cool morning breeze for a while, and then prepared to go to the bathroom to take a shower, and then prepare to go out for breakfast. Come back and clean up this mess of the Seaview Villa. Ding dong. Li Yan, who came out of the bathroom after washing, heard the doorbell, so he stepped forward and saw Susan Ran standing outside the door in the surveillance camera screen by the door. I looked at the time on my phone again. It's only 7:30 in the morning. Susan Ran came so early. If you want to help with cleaning, you don't need to be so active. Then Li Yan opened the door of the villa and walked to the bathroom to dry his wet hair. After Susan Ran came in, she neatly placed all the rich breakfast she had just bought on the table. Then happily waited for Li Yi to take care of it and enjoy this hot and fragrant breakfast with himself. Li Yi walked out of the bathroom after drying his hair. I was about to ask Susan Ran if she had breakfast, and if she didn't, she would go out for breakfast with herself and then come back to clean up. Then you can see a rich and hot breakfast on the table. There was milk, sandwiches, eggs. And Susan Ran, who was sitting on the side of the restaurant. She is wearing a soft light-colored off-the-shoulder sundress today, which looks more gentle and pure. So much so that Li Yan almost fell in. Hurry up and have breakfast, guess you haven't had breakfast yet. Susan Ran smiled and said extremely gently. Then Li Yan moved out of the chair next to the dining table and sat opposite Susan Ran. The two of them began to enjoy a delicious breakfast together. This warm feeling made Susan Ran happily close her mouth when she had breakfast. Being able to have breakfast with the person she likes is the happiest thing in her life. After eating breakfast, Susan Ran quickly cleaned the dining table. Where do we start cleaning today? By the way, this Seaview Villa is quite large. I asked my driver to go to the housekeeping company in advance and find a few people to come and help clean up. If you don't suggest it, I'll call now and ask the driver to inform them to come. Susan Ran's tone was calm and said with some concern. Because she was afraid that her approach would make Li Yan unhappy, she asked Li Yan's opinion. If he doesn't want to, then call and tell the housekeepers not to come. Well, it's okay, let them come. Li Yan thought about it, too, and let him and Susan Ran clean such a large villa area, so they had to clean it until the year of the monkey. And he also believes that the person Susan Ran is looking for must be reliable. Agreed with Susan Ran's idea. But he didn't want anyone else to clean his own bedroom, so he decided to clean it himself. Just as he was about to leave, he received a call from his good brother Chen Xianlin. Hey, Lao Li, I was dumped by Xiajia, and she ran. With a rich second generation. Dragon Boat Festival book discount, charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. To rush immediately, event period, June 22nd to June 24th. Price depreciation, green tea girlfriend begs for forgiveness. Author, Light and Agile. Chapter 30. Li Yan was immediately surprised when he heard what Chen Xianlin said when he choked up. This Chen Xianlin is a friend he met in college. Every time Li Yan encountered something tricky, he was always the first to stand up and help Li Yan. Regardless of whether he is right or wrong, he is unconditionally on Li Yan's side. In college, because Li Yan's academic performance was very good, he was also one of the top students in the school. Coupled with his handsome appearance, it has become the goal pursued by many female students in the university. Because of this, it has attracted the jealousy of many boys. Once, on the way home, Li Yi was targeted by several very jealous boys from the same school. It's just because the girls they like are so obsessed with Li Yan that they don't look at them with their eyes. So several people partnered to discuss and teach Li Yan a lesson. After evening self-study, Li Yi walked home alone after sending off his ex-girlfriend Zhao Xiya, who was still dating at the time. The jealous boys saw Li Yan alone, so they went to Li Yan and surrounded him. Seeing this, Li Yan immediately became vigilant. He is usually a person who likes fitness. It stands to reason that if he hangs one or two on the other side, it won't be a problem. But there were 3 or 4 people around him, and he couldn't do it alone. Seeing that the other party was getting closer and closer to him, Li Yan thought to himself that it was a big deal to fight to the death today. So a fierce collision with those 4 people began. At this moment, Chen Xianlin, who was going home and passing through this alley, saw a group of people who were beating, and he was ready to stay away, because even if he wanted to be a good person in this kind of scene, he couldn't do anything about it. In the dimly lit alley, it's impossible to see who is inside. Chen Xianlin was about to turn around and leave when he suddenly heard Li Yin's voice asking what the other party wanted to do. He couldn't believe it until he got closer and took a closer look, and it was really Li Yan surrounded by 4 people. One of them was also holding a baseball bat and preparing to slam it off from his back. Chen Xianlin threw away everything he was carrying without hesitation, and rushed towards Li Yan one by one. Hugged Li Yan tightly from behind. As a result, the stick hit him viciously in the back. Chen Xianlin endured the pain and then asked Li Yan. "It's okay." The scheming 4 people hurriedly fled when they saw Chen Xianlin's arrival. They knew very well that the reason why the 4 of them joined forces to besiege Li Yan was because Li Yan was not an easy person to deal with. 2 people may not be able to beat Li Yang, who exercises regularly, but if there are 2 more people, Li Yang will almost be unable to take them. Even if the 4 of them together can't beat each other, Li Yan will inevitably suffer some flesh and skin. So even if he risked his life, he wanted to teach Li Yan a lesson. But now there is another Chen Xianlin, and Li Yan has a helper, so they are the ones who will inevitably suffer from flesh and skin. So he fled with a crawl. When the 4 of them fled, one of the unwilling boys also picked up a baseball bat and made up another stick behind Chen Xianlin's back. Blame him for ruining his own good deeds. Li Yan shook his head and said that he was fine. Seeing that Li Yan was fine, Chen Xianlin also smiled reassuringly, and then fainted. In the end, the 4 boys from the same school with ill intentions were expelled from the school. And Li Yi and Chen Xianlin have also become the best brothers. So the 2 can be regarded as friends of life and death. And the Xiaojia in Chen Xianlin's mouth is his girlfriend in college. Zhang Xiajia and Li Yi's ex-girlfriend Zhao Xiya are very good girlfriends. At that time, when Li Yin was still dating Zhao Xiya, every time he went out to eat, Chen Xianlin was a kilowatt light bulb. Seeing this, Zhao Xiya couldn't bear it, so she introduced her best friend Zhang Xiajia to Chen Xianlin. Until now, Chen Xianlin and Zhang Xiajia have been dating for more than 7 years. After Chen Xianlin finished speaking on the other end of the phone, Li Yin couldn't help but sigh. It's really like things gather and people are divided into groups. I have been dating my ex-girlfriend Zhao Xiya for the same 7 years, and the final result is that I ran away with the rich second generation like Zhang Xiajia. Li Yan shook his head and snorted coldly. Chen Xianlin briefly talked to Li Yan on the phone. Invited Li Yan outside, and he invited a guest to find a quiet cafe copyright to tell Li Yan the ins and outs of this matter. I couldn't say a word on the phone. Li Yan looked at Su Xinran on the side and then agreed to Chen Xianlin. Then he hung up the phone and said to Su Xinran embarrassedly that I have something to go out for, or don't I clean it up today? Then I'm sorry for you to run for nothing today. Susan Ran saw that Li Yin seemed to be in a hurry, so she replied. It's okay, if you have something to do, you can go and get busy first. Anyway, I'm here, and I'll help you clean up with them when the housekeepers arrive. If you don't recommend that I clean your bedroom, I can clean it out for you so you can rest later. After hesitating for a moment, Li Yi nodded, then changed his clothes and went out to the Kafka copyright location that Chen Xianlin sent to him. Dragon Boat Festival book discount, charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. To rush immediately, event period, June 22 to June 24.